So with that, I'm going to now hand over to Sam Korkees from EVSC Australia. Sam has very quickly built his business up to be a major player in the EV scene locally, and he's installed some really elegant solutions through the journey that I've seen. I'm continuously impressed with the work that he and his team do. So with that, I'll hand across to Sam.
Thank you, Christian. We're also impressed with the work that AGL is doing with the trial that's undergoing. So I will be relatively quick, and we're today going to be looking at some important considerations when you're installing an EV charger at home. My name's Sam Korkees. I'm the director of evsc.com.au. We've been around in the electric vehicle game for about 5 years, which sometimes for me feels like a lifetime. And we believe in a world powered by renewable and sustainable energy solutions. These days, what we want to do is ensure that you're charging your electric car with the cleanest and what we say now the cheapest electricity available. And that's what we'll continue to do in the future. So today I was asked by Bryce to do a beginner's guide to wall-mounted EV chargers and some of the important considerations. So what we often find is an electric car is being delivered to a customer. Now what? What comes with the car? So what accessories are available? Which charging station is right for you? And what are the important considerations to bear in mind when you're buying your charging station? I'm just going to take you through a quick step-by-step process of selecting and installing the right charging station. And I'm also going to quickly look into some of the EV tariffs and maximising solar energy available to recharge your electric vehicle. Because at the end of the day, we want to avoid people saying to us, well, you're just shifting your carbon dioxide to the generating plant. The answer these days is no. We can actually power our EVs via renewable energy straight away. So what's inside the car? This is a question I get asked all the time, and so I've decided to create this slide. So you'll see here number 1 and number 2. So most electric cars will come with a portable charger, as Bryce was talking about earlier, and that plugs into a regular power point. Some vehicle manufacturers also provide you a type 2 to type 2 lead, and this allows you to utilize public EV infrastructure. So if you're lucky, like if purchasing a Jaguar, they'll give you both, but most will only give you one. Now, the majority of the car manufacturers will then offer you the option to upgrade to a wall-mounted AC charger via their own branded version, or you can choose an aftermarket product. I highly recommend that everyone take the upgrade option because it gives you a better electric vehicle experience. So the second important consideration is your charging speed. So what charging speed is required and how fast can you charge? I guess the term here is speed is relative to time. So basically, as everyone has touched upon, the longer you park, the less that speed matters. And it's a different experience to petrol. It's a similar experience to charging an iPhone. I say in the home, there's 2 main options. So there's your portable wall charger here, also known as a level 1 charger. Unfortunately, this isn't really a suitable solution. As convenient and cost effective as it is, it's just too slow for anyone who has a pure EV. You can get away with it with a hybrid, and it's really only for personal use. You wouldn't want to be using these in a commercial setting. Level 2 is what we would say probably represents 90% of the work we do. And this provides you a full charge in about 2 to 8 hours for both home and personal use. But finally, the DC charging stations, these Tritium's ABBs offer a great product line as well. 40 minutes to a full charge. So this is what you're going to see along your highways. People often ask me, Sam, can I install one of these at home? And I just say, guys, at the moment, it's firstly just too expensive. And secondly, your infrastructure required to put a DC charger is just not viable. So probably for the presentation today, we'll avoid that. Finally, consideration 3 here is the plug type. So what plug does my electric car have? And I'm so thankful that I'm probably going to stop having to have a confusing discussion with every customer because it's finally starting to standardize. So if anyone wants to write it down, Mineki's type 2 for AC charging and CCS2 for the DC charging standard. The options to the left of those are becoming redundant. I'd actually go as far to say as I would avoid purchasing those vehicles because it's going to limit your charging solutions in the future. So AC, what that means, guys, is the minimise port or on the CCS, the top port, and that's characterized by those 2 charging stations I showed a little earlier. 99% of home charging is conducted via these methods, and the reason for that is cost. It is just so much cheaper to install an AC charger than a DC charger. I will imagine a world where the DC chargers are going to get a lot cheaper in the near future, but I can't see a world where they'll completely replace AC chargers. And so your DC chargers are shown here, your CCS or your Chattermate, which is on the Nissan Leaf and Mitsubishi. This is what gives you that fast charge, your petrol station experience. Again, at home, not really recommended and not viable. So the fun part is, now that you know your charging speeds, you know what comes with your car, and you've decided on what you'd like to do, it's time for you to get a charger installed. And so the options that a lot of manufacturers and resellers provide is a standard and a smart solution. So what you have to consider is, well, do you just want a charger that's plug and play and you don't really have to think too much? Or do you want something that has a bit more integration that can actually meter your electricity and potentially also integrate with your solar panels? So what we're finding is Australia, we're blessed by the sun, thankfully, unlike many other countries, especially in Europe. And this blessed sunshine allows us to actually charge our electric vehicles purely by the solar energy we're producing. The other important consideration that people may not think about when they're purchasing a car is, well, energy metering. So how do we allow a driver of a fleet or so to have a similar experience to a petrol car? And that's via charging stations metering electricity, so that a EV driver can go to the tax office and say, well, I've spent about $2,000 on electricity this year. Can you please reimburse me? Or similar conversation with his fleet manager. And so another consideration that you might want to see is the functionalities of the apps that often come with the vehicles. They will give you also a snapshot of what the car can do. And I would also say understand the software costs involved. So there are free software solutions available, but there's also software solutions that have an ongoing cost. So you need to weigh up the benefits of that solution there. The final part is universal. For me, is an absolute must. Using specific branded chargers that only work with certain vehicles is a recipe for a problem 3 or 4 years down the track. So I call EV infrastructure a 10 to 20 year investment, like an air conditioner in a home or any service in your home. And so you need to make sure that that charging station is relevant to the vehicle you're driving today, but also to that in the future. So go down the universal path, guys. Avoid specific solutions such as the Tesla charger, because if you do buy a second car, you'll run into a problem. So installation here, now I've seen it all. I've had questions asked about everything here. So who can install your charging station? So in Australia, any qualified licensed electrician can install your EV charging station. You cannot install your charging station yourself. So please don't try it, because you may make a mistake and hurt yourself. Also, I've spoken a lot about those portable charging stations that come with most vehicles. If you intend to use a portable charger, please have an electrician come out to your home and ensure that the cabling and the wiring is perfect and that there'll be no issues. This is a really big consideration if your home is especially built before the 1980s, where there's a lot of dodgy electricity wiring behind those houses. So the recommendation we use is use an experienced installation team. There's quite a few very good operators that do installation. A lot of those are going to be presenting today, as well as ourselves, and we can ensure that install is perfect. So the final part of my presentation before I hand over to Russell is how much will it cost? So there's 2 considerations when you're installing an EV charger at home or even at work, for instance. And the first one is your EV charger hardware cost. So these are just general price guides that you might find some for less and you might find some for more, but generally about $950 to $2,000 for a standard home single or 3-phase charger. So now that you've got your charger, your next cost consideration is your installation cost. And that tends to cost between $850 and $1,200. Again, the circumstances of your site are going to play an important role. If you have doubts about your EV, or you're going to go buy an electric car, but you want to know how much an installation costs, reach out to an electrician, reach out to some of the people here in this forum today. and they can actually give you kind of pricing so that when you walk into a dealership, you know that you can charge your car in the comforts of your home. I personally, my electric vehicle experience is enhanced because I have access to home charging. If you don't have access to home charging, you have to also consider that public charging piece. Okay, and the final recommendation I have is fit for future. So install the charging station that will be the solution for you today and in the future. So if you've got access to three-phase power, consider a three-phase charger. It'll give you a faster charging speed in the future. That's all for me, so I'm going to leave it over to Russ. Here's our contact details if anyone has any questions and would like any information. All our information is freely provided. Thank you so much, guys, and yeah, good luck to Russ, who's coming up next.
Thanks, Sam. That was great. Typically excellent. So